Now, the use of Sharia, or Islamic religious law, is growing in Britain, with thousands of Muslims using Sharia councils to help resolve family and financial disputes each year. A new survey suggests nearly a quarter of UK Muslims would like to see Sharia councils given a more formal role. But the crossbench peer, Baroness Cox, wants to make it illegal for Sharia courts to act as legal courts in arbitration cases. Her private member's bill has passed through the Lords and is due to be debated in the Commons later this month. Here's Baroness Cox with a soapbox.
In Britain, for 800 years, since the signing of Magna Carta, we've had a fundamental commitment to the principle of one law for all and equality of access to that law, and that is now being undermined. I believe passionately in the freedom of religion and belief, but in Britain there is now a system of Sharia councils or courts which inherently discriminate against women and girls in ways that are causing a great deal of suffering. This is a moral maze which we must navigate. For example, under Sharia law, a man can divorce his wife just by saying, "I divorce you" 3 times. The woman often has to pay or to fulfill other conditions which may be very difficult for her. Now, in Britain, bigamy is illegal, but Sharia law allows polygamy. A man can have up to 4 wives. And one of my Muslim women friends who's doing research into the plight of Muslim women in the West Midlands told me how women were sometimes married into polygamous marriages without even realising there was already another wife in the marriage, and they are desperately unhappy. I have wept with many of these Muslim women, and they tell me how much they're suffering. One lady said to me, "I feel betrayed by Britain. I came here to get away from this. It's worse here than in the country I came from." Their suffering would be making our suffragettes turn in their graves. We must not get caught in a labyrinth of inaction because we're afraid of upsetting cultural sensitivities or political correctness. It is high time that we made sure that we do uphold that principle of one law for all, of equality of access to that law, and we end the kind of discrimination that's causing so much suffering to many girls and women in our country today.
That was Baroness Cox. She's with me now. We're also joined by Yasmin Khan, the director of the Halo Project. It's a charity that helps women victims of domestic violence, forced marriage in the northeast of England. Welcome to the programme. Let me come to you first, Yasmin, because you've heard what the Baroness has been saying there. She seems to be wanting to help precisely the kind of women that your organisation is out to help. But you're opposed to this. Why?
I think there's a range of reasons, and I'm accepting that there are problems within the Sharia system. That's not what the argument is. But if you look at the number of people who've actually used the Sharia Council, it's 80% of those are women. And whilst I welcome new legislation, such as the criminalisation of forced marriage, which was introduced in June 2014, I think what we need to be very careful is understanding, and there's a misconception about what this law suggests. It is very clear that the law of the land should be applied, and that should be overruled. So I think that's very important to mention that.
That the law of the land should always be above Sharia law?
Always should be above. Muslims are expected to abide by the law of the land.
You say that 80% of women using it. Do we have evidence that the women are using the Sharia law because it's a conscious choice they're making, or because they feel that the norms and pressures in their community force them to go that way?
They have at the moment the flexibility to use both. There are laws that protect them. So I think that's something that we need to consider. And there are movements within the Sharia councils to work and progressively modernise and regulate some of the systems. So we should be working with them, not working against them, and introducing new pieces of law when it's unnecessary.
What do you say to that?
Well, I say I believe in freedom of religion, and of course I believe in the right of women to access the kind of courts and councils whom they wish. But it must first of all be a genuine freedom, not pressure, not ignorance. One of the things that was found by my good friend Habiba Jan, who did research into the situation for Muslim women in the West Midlands, many of them didn't know the options. They didn't know, for example, that if they had an Islamic marriage in this country, it wasn't a legally registered marriage, when they were divorced, as happens so easily, they had no rights whatever. There was a cri de coeur from them for knowledge. There's a cri de coeur with regard to the domestic violence that is permitted under Sharia law. And so freedom of religion, yes, but not a kind of format or context which allows policies, principles and actions which are incompatible with the laws and values of our land.
Is domestic violence allowed under Sharia law?
It's not allowed under Sharia law, and I think this is the point. We need to do more work with Muslim communities and not marginalise them. We need to understand what the issues are and work with the Sharia councils who are actually modernising some of the issues that you're mentioning.
But does Sharia law... You said Sharia law allows for domestic violence.
It allows chastisement, and that is definitely allowed, and that is interpreted, and that is used in many cases.
What do you say?
I think it's very important to understand the number of women who are using Sharia councils. 80%
Does it allow chastisement of the
I'm not here to
woman?
Comment on that. I'm here.
No, actually, you are here to comment.
I'm here to
on
just
that,
really.
And I'm looking for your comment.
Muslim women, and that's not acceptable.
But does it allow chastisement?
It does not. It allows freedom and it allows equality in certain respects. And I'm not saying that that's completely against what you're suggesting. All I'm saying, more dialogue has to be had with communities and especially Muslim women.
All right, let me bring Jess Phillips in, because this is an interest of yours, isn't it?
It certainly is. I mean, my heart sinks when a Muslim woman comes into my surgery and she believes she has a certain number of rights, and when she hands me the papers for a Islamic marriage, not a legal British marriage, my heart sinks, actually. And I have been through lots and lots of different cases with regard to custody, specifically issues around custody and issues around people escaping domestic violence within the context of Sharia law. And I have to say that I think we are in danger of sort of portraying domestic violence certainly being more prolific in Muslim communities. That is just simply not the case. It is everywhere.
Right, but what's your point to Yasmin? Because we haven't got much time.
If Sharia law in any way discriminates against women, if it allows rules that exist only for men and not for women to access, and if it allows the chastisement of a woman, it should be stopped. Those things need to be modernised.
We've only got 30 seconds. I'll give you the final word.
I agree, there definitely needs to be change, but I think we really need to be working with communities who are already looking to change and reform those councils. So I think that's the point I really want to focus on. We do need to have an understanding of what's important for them, and that's what I'm suggesting that we do. Work with the local communities and see how you can modernise the councils that currently operate.
We'll leave it there. It probably won't get through the Commons, will it?
Not this time, but we hope next time it will start in the Commons.
I see. OK. I thank you both for being with me.